Hey foodie friends, so today we're going to make an espresso creme brulee. Now, let's get saucy. All right, foodie friends, so like I said, espresso creme brulee, absolutely delicious, one of my all-time favorite things, creme brulee in general. If you don't like coffee, you can just add some vanilla to the cream mixture, either just some vanilla extract, or if you have a vanilla bean, scrape the seeds out of that, put that in your cream mixture. This is gonna make about 4 creme brulees. The ramekins that I have are, I think, 6 ounces. So you wanna just, however many ramekins you have or what size they are will depend on how many you're gonna get. So I have a small pot here. I'm just gonna add into that 1 pint or 2 cups of heavy cream. And I'm gonna just get that heating up over like a medium heat. You just wanna get this good and warm. You don't want it to boil. We're just gonna get it scalded. So just before the boiling point, you'll start to see some bubbles kind of around the edges. So getting that on the medium heat, and I'm gonna go ahead and just pop in 1 tablespoon of instant espresso powder to that. Again, you could leave this out. You could sub in some vanilla and just do a vanilla creme brulee, but I like to do the espresso for this one. So in this bowl, I have 5 egg yolks, to which I'm going to go ahead and add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. It's, it's lightly sweet, I would say. It's not like overly sweet, but we've got that espresso in here, which is gonna add some bitterness and that coffee flavor. So we're just gonna whisk the egg yolks and the sugar together vigorously until they get kind of pale in color and about double in volume. You could do this in a stand mixer or with a hand mixer if you wanted to, but it's really not that hard and it doesn't take very long. I mean, you can already see it's already lightened up and we've got a good volume added to this. The longest thing that's gonna be is our baking. Obviously, this is gonna bake in a water bath for about 45 minutes, but bringing this together is actually super simple. And creme brulee, might be a little intimidating to some people, but it's really not that hard to do. You see, I've got 4 ingredients here. And then obviously once we bake it and let it cool, then we'll add the sugar to the top and torch it. So this is already done. Just waiting for this to come up to temperature, get warm, and then we'll come back and combine them together. All right, foodie friends, so we are back. My cream is steaming here and it's got a few little bubbles kind of around the edges. I did go ahead and add a 2nd tablespoon of espresso powder to this because it wasn't quite deep enough for me. You could do 1, I think 2 is probably better, but I mean, just depends on how much you like espresso or coffee, that flavor. I really wanted that espresso flavor to kind of come through. You could even go 3 if you wanted to really get that espresso flavor really hyped up in there, but I went with 2. So now this is done. I'm gonna move this over and I'm going to slowly add my hot cream into my egg yolks while I whisk my egg yolks. We're tempering that. We don't want to scramble the egg yolks, obviously. That's not delicious. So, this is something that you always want to do. Now I'm gonna grab a towel here for under my bowl so it stops moving around on me. There we go. And just slowly add this in as you whisk. And you're going to, like I said, bring those egg yolks up to temperature, temper them so that they don't scramble. And then once they get good and warm and kind of loose, you can kind of go a little bit faster with it. And now you don't want to get too much air into this, right? We already incorporated a decent amount of air into our egg yolks when we were whisking it before. So I'm gonna switch to my spatula here and finish this off with my spatula. You're gonna make sure that all of your sugar is kind of dissolved in here as you're doing this. And again, we're bringing those egg yolks slowly up to temperature. And then once they're warm, you can just put the rest of it in. So this is pretty much ready. I'm gonna let this sit for just a couple of minutes to make sure all that sugar gets good and dissolved. And then we're gonna pass it through a strainer into our big measuring cup here. I've got this already set up so that we can pour it into our ramekins. And that strainer is just gonna help in case any of the egg did end up getting cooked and kind of scrambled in there, then we will strain that out. But we did this good and slowly, so it should be fine. There shouldn't be any lumps in here, but better safe than sorry. So I'm gonna set this aside for just a couple of minutes, and when we come back, we will get it ready to go in the oven. I've already put my oven to 350. Now we're gonna bake these at 325. I have it at 350 because when we go over there to put them in the oven, we're gonna put a water bath. So we're gonna have the oven door open for a couple of minutes while we pour water into our pan with our creme brulees. So it's gonna bring the oven temperature down. So then I'll bump it back down to 325, but that way we're getting a good start and we're not going too low. So we'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, foodie friends, so we've let this sit for a few minutes and I'm gonna go ahead and strain it through here. So what I did too was on top of here, I don't know how well you can see, there's kind of like a little bit of a foam on top of here. I went ahead and I skimmed a good amount of that off. You don't have to do that. I just find that sometimes that leaves kind of little air bubbles on top of the creme brulees. Not a huge problem, but they just don't necessarily look as pretty. But again, once we top them with the sugar and torch them later, they're gonna be fine anyway. But it's always something that I've done, and I just, it's a habit, so I just do it. So went through the strainer here, nothing is left in here, so we're good, that's great. And then I'm going to evenly divide this into my 4 ramekins. Again, I think these are 6-ounce ramekins. They have a little bit of a lip inside. I don't know how well you can see that. So I'm gonna fill them about up to that lip. I think that should get me evenly all 4 of them. And again, we are going to do this in a water bath. So when I fill these, I'm gonna take them to the oven, open the oven door, and I'm going to put the pan in there, and then I'm gonna pour the water into the pan. Now, when you do that, you need to be very, very careful, because if you get any water inside the creme brulee itself, they won't set. So be very careful when you do that. Make sure you're not getting any drops of water into the creme brulee, even just a little drop, and it's not gonna set. So this is gonna be a little bit more, so I'm gonna add just a scotch more to each one. It's gonna be just a little bit above that lip that I showed you before. I'm so excited for this. I haven't made this in a while. All right, so again, I'm gonna take this over to the oven. I'm gonna pop it in there. I'm gonna get my water bath set up. So I'm gonna pour the water into here and we're gonna bake this. It's gonna be about 45 minutes. You want them to be set around the edges, and the center should still have a little bit of a jiggle to it. So depending on the size of your ramekins, may take a little bit longer or not as much time, but just give a check to them. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna probably start checking on these at about 40 minutes and see how we are. So once that's done, we're gonna have to let them cool completely. So I'll let them cool for a few, like 15 minutes on the counter, and then get them in the refrigerator. Don't wrap them until they're completely cool. If you wrap them and they start to sweat, it's gonna mess up the texture a little bit. So I don't ever wrap them until they're completely cool. Once they're cool, then we'll come back and finish them up and taste it. It's gonna be amazing. We'll see you guys soon. All right, foodie friends, so my creme brulee is all chilled. It baked for about 50 minutes, and then I let it cool in the water bath for about 15 to 20 minutes and popped it in the fridge, again, uncovered. So it's nice and set. You can see it's all set up. So we're just going to go ahead and get it finished up. I'm gonna put about a teaspoon, a little more than a teaspoon of sugar on top and get a nice evenly spread around, a little too much. And then we're gonna torch it. So now listen, if you don't have a creme brulee torch, I mean, my torch is actually not specifically a creme brulee torch, but if you don't have a torch, you can do this under the broiler. The only thing you wanna do is really keep an eye on it, because it will burn really fast. So we're gonna go ahead and give it a quick little torch. I don't know if you can hear me over the torch. Gonna turn that off. I'm gonna let this set, and then I'm gonna put another bit of sugar on top and do it a second time, so it gets a really nice, crispy, crunchy top to it. So once this is pretty cool, I'll go ahead and go in again with some more sugar. And then just wanna let this chill like enough to that set up really quickly. It doesn't take long, just a minute, and it's gonna be nice and crispy and crunchy, and we'll taste it. All right. It's ready to go. I'm gonna try to catch this crack on my mic, so. That's great. Look at that. You can see the coffee in there. It's got a nice kind of like cafe au lait or latte color to it. So creamy, Not overly powered with the coffee, that espresso powder, just a nice light flavor of that. So, so delicious. You guys are absolutely going to want to make this. So there will be a link to the full written recipe in the description box below. Thanks as always for joining me here on Getting Saucy with Chef Lynn. You can follow me across all social media at Chef Lynn Wheeler. My website is cheflynnwheeler.com. That's where most of my recipes are. Thanks for joining me again. And remember, keep exploring, keep tasting, and keep celebrating the flavors that bring us together. So good.